now that you've started your mini golf project and you've got all the ideas kind of started in your head, you've got your theme, you've got your information, you've got 9 different hole ideas. It's time to kind of move past that. You've talked about all the requirements. Now you're actually going to design those holes right here that we're talking about. We've already talked about the rubric that you're going to be using to solve this. And now this is kind of an idea of what your aim for your rough draft should look like. You want to be creating, and this is just a sample from this that you could use. Your rough draft needs to have this basic idea built into it. You need to create the actual design of what your hole is going to look like. So there's a couple things you've got to look at when you're working on this and your rough draft. Now, mind you, I know it's a rough draft. You still have certain requirements you have to meet. First thing you have to do is you've got to have the design done. So that we're talking about the individual shape, but more than just the shape, you need to have the actual overall design, the colors. If you're doing, so like an example, if you're going to make a fish, you're going to have this information done. You've got to have the fish design done so that you can actually have that to look at. You do need to have it colors done. You actually even have to have it colored so that you can see what it will look like. You can ask other kids in your group to help you think through the coloring if you want to make it more fancy, more creative. Because again, remember, your job as the architect is to design this space so that it will be chosen over the other groups in your class. And color and creativity have a lot to do with play into it. So the sooner you start thinking that way, the better off you're going to be. So you've got your design, you've got the original. Now, one other thing you have to make sure you remember on the design is you need to have the actual hole on the chart. Okay, so you can see on both of these examples, the hole that they're aiming for is already there on the graph. So you have that idea. I also want you to have the starting point. And it's not on this one, but you'd have to have a little spot over here for the starting point. Okay, so that everyone knows where they're actually going to have to start to play the game. So if the starting point's over here in the tail, so you have to have both those listed like any regular mini golf course would have. Okay. So you've got that design. You're going to take your time. Do not rush through because, oh, it's a rough draft. I don't have to do this. I don't have to worry about it. I need to have the shape. So whether you're doing the trapezoid or the parallelogram or anything, you've got to have that shape done. You've got to have it colored. Now, it doesn't have to be, your world's best coloring. No, but you do want to have a general idea. And you can also not just use the shape, but if you've got a generic shape like the rectangle problem, you might have to create a design that actually fits your theme. So like this person had the beach and they had to have that. Okay. And then you have, from here, like I said, you've got the hole, you've got a starting point. I need an ing on that. A starting point. And then now you're going to have to start working on the dimensions. Now, one of the things you have to keep in mind is you have, and I'm going to go to another page in a second and kind of talk about this. You need to have the formulas done. Okay, so you can see how it starts with the formula. And then you have to have the size. And part of the size and design is you're going to have a scale set up. You can't draw it 12 feet by 4 feet on your paper. Your paper is really small. So you're going to have to draw it to a scale. So please have your scale listed so that, hey, if this is 1 inch is every 1 inch equals 2 feet, I know what the scale looks like. So you've got everything and you have it drawn to scale. Okay? Okay, so that way I can definitely tell. You've got that dimension, you've got that listed, and you have all the math done. You need to have your math checked by everyone in the group. Okay? Everyone has to check the math and agree that it's right. Now, again, you have access to a calculator. There's no limitation on that. You're welcome to use a calculator to check your numbers, but you have to have everyone agree because you're all getting that same grade. So if your math is wrong, they're all losing points. So take the time in that and go, okay, we've all checked off everyone's individual stuff. And I'm looking for everyone to kind of initial on each design that you did, that everyone has done it, okay? So let's talk about one like, look, you've seen a couple examples as I talked it through. Here's another more complex example, the shark over there. Okay, now this is the paper you have. You're going to create that same design. So say you're doing the parallelogram. The first thing you're going to do is, okay, you're doing... I'm going to say mine is math. That's going to be my theme. So I'm going to do the pi symbol. or I'm going to use, or even a subtraction sign, or an addition sign, or whatever it is, but I'm going to do pi just because it's kind of fun. So I'm going to I actually happen to have a couple of tools that have good parallelograms I can draw with and things like that. So I'm going to use that tool, okay? So I've got a parallelogram. I'm going to have that parallelogram, and we're going to say pi, and I'm going to have to get it listed. I'm drawing it on those lines that it's going to be okay. I'll change my colors on this in a second. I need to make it a little longer so it matches. And I might even shift it a little bit so it fits that space perfectly. So I can do the math. 3 by, well, you know, I think I might just have to hand draw this. So let me clear off my objects and let's try this again. So you're going to want to use, and I'll use my straight line tool on this one. Here, so I'm going to draw my parallelogram. I'm going to say this one's going to be 5. Oh, not a perfect straight line, but we'll get it to where it works. All right. And then I've got my other side. I'll stop drawing it, and I'm going to say I'm going to go down. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make it go to here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to work my way down to 2. It's not a perfect straight line, so I'm going to get my ruler tool out. It'll be much easier for me to draw neatly that way. Get out my eraser, because this is my goals. I want to make sure this is my rough draft, but I want my rough draft to be right. So, okay, come down here. There's that. Come down here from that point. Over 1 over 2. There we go. And then connect my dot. Okay, so that's my first side. I'm going to do another one of these for pi. It's not a perfect. We're using our imagination on what pi looks like. Don't get me wrong. Oh, that's not far enough over. That's the wrong size. Let's try that again. And if you make mistakes, this is why you have the erasers, and you can work on erasing it. I grabbed a couple of erasers from the office, a couple packs of erasers, so you can use that. Okay, so there's my next pi to the 2 bases. And while I can't really quite have that perfect pi symbol with the swooshy part, I can create something that looks like pi, like this. So I've got my shape, and I'm going to use, let me get rid of my word math for my term, and I'll use my color tool. I'm going to make mine green just because I felt that didn't work. I'm going to color mine in green. That's my colors. It's not going to be perfect. I'm trying to go a little quicker on this, and I'll fix it in a second. Color it in green, my pi symbol. And then I'm going to have, again, mine is not perfect because I'm trying to do this by hand. You'll draw much nicer on this. I know you will, because you're a way better artist than I am. I don't know why it doesn't want to erase. Well, sorry, I tried. Well, it does erase, just not very well. All right, so you'll have it colored in, and then you'll do your dimensions. Now I'm going to come over here and say my scale. I'm going to change my color real fast. My scale, because I've got pretty good size, I'm going to say 1 block is 6 inches. 1 block, 6 inches. So I've got this 5 by 6. This is 30 inches or 2.5 feet. I'm going to use feet in my directions. There's no requirement, but since my final answer needs to be in square feet, I'm going to say 2.5 feet. This is 2.5 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 6. So 6. So there's 10 of these. So this is 5 feet. My height is 5 feet. Same here. Okay, then I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 25 on this side. So 25 times 6 is 12.5 feet. So now, and then I've got my height here again. This is that same 32.5 feet. So now I'm going to come over and do my math for each individual. I'm going to mark this A, B, and C. I'm going to say my final hole is right down here. I'm going to make my starting point right here. So I'm going to draw a little box for my starting point. So now I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to do the math, okay? So I'm going to find, I've got figure A. So that's a rectangle, so it's base times height. So I'm going to say, okay, it's 12.5, 12.5 times 2.5. And again, thank goodness we have calculators. It's not that we have to have them, but why not? Let's use them. Make our math easy and quick. Is 31.5 or 31.25 feet squared. Figure B, I've got this one, and this is B and C are going to be the same, so that's kind of nice. They're exactly the same shape. So it's going to be, again, it's a thing, so it's base times height. So I'm going to say area is equal to 5 times 2.5. So I've got 12.5 feet, and I'm going to multiply that by 2. So I have 2 areas. So the area of this entire math pie diagram is 31 and 25 hundredths plus 12.5 plus 12.5 for a total of 56 and 2,500 square feet. Now, I might decide, hey, wait, this doesn't seem right. This is too small. I might come back and redesign it and say, hey, as time goes, man, I can make this larger. I can make this bigger to make it look more like a pi symbol, or if I need more space, because I've used, of the 800 I need right now, of the 600 minimum I've used 56 square feet. I could make it a little bigger. I could come in and play with my numbers and say, maybe each block is 1 foot and see how that comes down to. That might be really big. Or each block is 8 inches and redo my numbers. It's up to me how I decide how I want to build that. So it's all your decision how you want to think that through. I'm going to suggest you keep your scale somewhere around 6 inches or 1 foot for each block. It'd be easier mathematically that you have 6.5 versus 1/3 feet or things like that. So kind of have that in the back of your head. I might decide to change my scale. I might decide to make my drawing a little bigger so that I can make it fit. And that's where the eraser comes into play. So this is the kind of idea what you're going to do. Again, you'll draw it, you'll color it in nicer, but I was limited to a circle shape. And you'll have all these pieces listed. And this is what you guys are going to be doing tomorrow. And I need 3 of these. And then you're going to pass, hey, take a look at this, take a look at this, check my math, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I think I did it right. What do you think about my design? Can I make any changes? Could I color it differently so that you can kind of see the swoosh on the outside and make the different colors on the outside? So I can see that little normal pi wave at the very top. Up to how I want to do it. So be thinking about how those work. That's what you're going to be doing for your rough draft today. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them Monday when I return. Be sure before you kind of think this out, be sure you've got all 3 done, and one person is taking a picture of it, all 3, and upload those to my GAC to Milestone 2. That's how you'll get credit for it this week. All right. Good luck.